means Gankstars has not banned Batiste. So now TSM is going to go ahead and ban Vox, which is interesting because they have not banned not banned Grumpjaw in a while. They've always been banning Vox. So Grumpjaw ban comes out from TSM. Gankstars will probably pick up the Grace here, and then TSM is probably going to pick up either Baron or Lyra, most likely. Or actually Vox. Vox actually counters Grace, so they're going to probably pick up the Vox here.
Yeah, I'm actually not very surprised by the TSM ban on Grumpjaw. That's actually, Grumpjaw is their most banned hero. They've banned Grumpjaw. This is now their 13th time banning Grumpjaw, so they definitely just prioritize taking that hero off the board. Grace going to come through, but TSM, they are more than happy to pick up this Baron for best Chuck.
Yeah, and we've seen what happens when TSM gets Baron for best Chuck. It is not a pretty sight for your opponent. I mean, where do you even go from here in the draft?
Yeah.
Surely for Gankstars, you're just in trouble at this
TSM
point.
is probably going to ban Idris here or Vox potentially, but I think Idris will probably make the most sense since with Grace, Idris is a hard counter into that Baron. And now Gankstars has to ban Lyra. They have to ban Lyra here because if they don't, TSM's going to pick it up. If they do ban Lyra, TSM will take Koshka. If they ban Koshka, TSM will take Lyra. So TSM has their draft figured out here, I think, from this point. So let's see what Gankstars decides.
Yeah, I think the Lyra ban would be best, but they're going to ban the Koshka. So now, as you mentioned, Sweetia, they can very easily just go ahead and grab themselves the Lyra. They don't even need to pick it up though. They can grab their jungler
like
and
Black
just
Feather potentially here.
Yeah, just keep the Lyra for the last pick because with Gankstars already having Grace, the chances of Gankstars picking up Lyra are very, very slim.
That is going to be the Lyra lock-in from TSM. That's going to be supporting that Baron. But we'll see how well the Baron and Lyra can do against the likes of Grace. Obviously, we talked about Grace having a decent matchup into Baron, but whether or not Gankstars can utilize that in this matchup is going to be up in the air. Now, Gankstars have to finish out
They
this
have
roster.
to pick Sonic and dive onto Baron. So Black Feather, weapon power potentially is good here, or CP because he can poke him and get onto him. Because Grace wants to go in. Grace's playstyle is to dive in and rush the enemy opponent. So they need to pick something that synergizes with Grace's playstyle. So a dodge will come out, potentially Glaive here, I think, or Black Feather.
Double heal.
Yeah, so it could be a double heal. So I think Black Feather would make the most sense. Oh, actually, they're going to pick Glaive.
Okay.
Because, because I thought Black Feather picked because Xeno plays it so much. So now Glaive is picked, which actually works well. But Glaive isn't that good into Baron because Baron can easily escape a Glaive afterburn with his Jump Jets max. So now I think Black Feather or Petal could be picked here on the side of TSM. Or if they want to go, they can even try Ozo again, which they played before.
They have a win with Ozo.
You say that.
They're pretty much the only team to pick up the win with the Ozo. As, TSM...
No. There's not much that they can't pick up a win with, it feels like, at this point. And it's not often that you get to say, oh, Ozo would be a pretty good pick in this competitive composition, but TSM can certainly make whatever they want.
Of all the heroes they've played, only one hero that they have played they don't have a win with, and that's actually the Gwen. So that's every other hero that they have played, they won with Kroll. This will be the TSM's first time on Kroll this season. Well, it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, once again, TSM pulling out a strange pick to round out the composition.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Crow because Grace can stun him, so he has to reflex block that Holy Nova. So it could work out. The reason why I said Ozo and Petal is because they can jump around that Grace Holy Nova. But TSM might make this work out, so Avanci is very good on those actives.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we have a couple of replays, actually, of what happened last time the Baron got let through for Best Chuck NA. This guy is terrifying on Baron. Like, with this composition, can Gankstars stop this exact thing from happening to them?
It's going to be tough. I mean, they tweeted about wanting to end streaks. How about a 6-0 streak for Baron, 7-0 streak for Lyra for Team Solo Mid this season?
Yeah, it's it's some scary statistics that TSM have if you're going up against them. I know there are a lot of Gankstars fans out there that are going to be keeping a close eye on this game. I'm curious to see what they think of this one. So, predictions coming into this one. How do we feel the compositions have panned out? Have Gankstars got a good enough composition to take it to TSM here?
Based on draft history, TSM has gone Baron, Lyra 3 out of the last 6 games and just dominated with it. So I think it's TSM is going to win this game.
Okay.
And numbers don't lie. 7-0, 6-0. The Kroll is an unknown factor, but hasn't won yet in VGA. I think this is the time where it picks up its first win.
All right, well, a lot of faith in Von C on this crawl right now. A lot of faith in TSM and in the statistics. But it's time to get on into this one. TSM or Gankstars, let us know on Twitter, hashtag Vainglory8. We want to see who you're supporting. But it's time to head into our first North American quarterfinal as I pass it to the casters.
Thank you very much, Munchables. It's myself, Dalsy, joined by the amazing Brit Excoundrel for this first game of the North American VG8. Week 4 here at Scoundrel. These are the games that make the most difference towards the challenge battles, which we'll be having next weekend.
Yeah, obviously, TSM well out of the breadth of the challenge battles here. Gankstars feeling pretty safe too, but this game is important for Gankstars because, you know, if you want to start asserting yourself as closing the gap between the North American teams of C9 and TSM, you've got to start here. You've got to beat TSM in this series because there is that gulf. It is opening. TSM seems to be making leaps and bounds every single week, getting better and better in the North American VG8, and it doesn't feel like anyone can catch them. Gankstars have always been the bridesmaid, never the bride when it comes to North American VG8. Maybe it's this time they've caught the bouquet.
I'm loving this as well. Von Z drafting himself a Cruel. I've been wondering, Scoundrel, how long would it take for us to see some competitive Cruel? Me and you, we've been seeing a lot of Cruel in our solo queue games over in Europe. That's a different story. We'll talk about that in a second because Best Chuck's getting ganked by Gankstars. And they're looking for first blood. It's going to go over to Xenotech on his weapon-powered glaive. Last time we saw that, he was at London. He's looking for another kill. Can Araki survive? Yes, he can. It's a double for Xenotech's weapon-powered glaive. Last performance on that, I think it was an 18-0-1 performance for Xenotech.
Goodness me, Xenotech on a carry hero once more. What was in those flowers, Dalsy? I mean, they've just caught some sort of steroid-infused flowers because that was a great start for Gankstars off the bat. And this is kind of what you want to do when you have a weapon-powered glaive in the jungle against a Baron, especially before he can get, you know, sort of more points into those jump jets. You just want to gank him over and over again. You've got such a strong early combo here. Grace, Glaive, Afterburn into the Holy Nova. You've got the Gift of Fire and Agent of Wrath as well. So many ways to put pressure on a Baron early here, and I think that's one of the best ways to pressure Best Chuck's Baron, Dalsy, is just by putting pressure on it early. You know, just consistently gank it. Get loads and loads of ganks in lane. Xenotech in trouble, though.
He is in a little bit of trouble. Should be fine as Vanes roams down. Gankstars have been in their gaming house together for quite some time now. A old Gankstars roster with Rekt. Didn't quite have them all in the gaming house. It was Xenotech and Araki sharing a room, but Rekt unfortunately not there. So now with Vanes in the mix, you have to think that team synergies probably has to be starting to hit all-time high for Gankstars.
I believe actually Xenotech only moved in recently. If I remember, I think Port by Ukrainian was saying something along the lines of Xenotech wasn't quite in the house yet, but he was there to be soon. And I think he's actually moved in, might have been this week or last. So they've now had some time as a full roster in the gaming house. And this could really prove to affect their synergy. You know, they are a team when they play at their best. They could probably beat any team in North America. And if you have to beat a hurdle to prove that kind of statistic, again, Best Chuck does jump out of it though, Dalsy.
What a fantastic use of your jump there, the jump jets from Best Chuck, but they're staying in lane. This Adagio is just having all of the presence necessary that Araki Zoro can use to start scaling up into the mid game where he's going to be so scary. Gankstars, not only do they have a composition that works very nicely in the early game, the gank potential between the Grace, the Grace and the Glaive together, the dive on top of. But this Adagio, once he hits that alternating current, gets himself some upgraded boots. You just have to fear, I think, TSM's survival chances in these mid-game teamfights.
So I actually think Gankstars do need to continue the momentum that they've gained from the early game here, because the later and later this goes, the easier and easier it is for FlashX to peel and stop plays with his Bright Bulwark. Von C will be scaling up and have the ability to make someone, you know, feel the power of those weakness stacks. And remember, traditionally, Cruel is pretty good into Adagio because you can just run at him and reduce his damage output by huge amounts because of those weakness stacks. So that's traditionally, we've always seen Cruel do quite well into Adagio. I want to talk about, wait a second, FlashX.
Yeah, he's in
careful.
I think it's okay here. Best Chuck has roamed. Maybe Xenotech's in a bit of trouble. They could look to turn this. That's jump jets used aggressively. Xenotech, though, going the other way. Let's talk about the builds. I think we're going to get a second here because it's going to be double weapon power here at Scoundrel from TSM as they charge into Xenotech. the Holy Nova knocking up Von C. Xenotech will go down nonetheless. Vayne's not quite finishing his fountain at this 4.5-minute mark. Now, Araki in lane. Von C may just look for a dive, depending on how aggressive TSM are looking.
Vayne's.
Oh, face checks the bush, and he'll find his way back to the base. He had a flare in his inventory.
Yeah, he had
Sold
a flare
it
as
just
well,
so that we
Darcy.
wouldn't see it, Scoundrel.
I actually don't think this is going to be double weapon power. This is probably going to be tension bow aftershock on the glaive. Sorry, on the Cruel. It's something that we've seen quite a lot of on junglers, especially Grumpjaw, melee, heavy hitting mid-game junglers tend to go this sort of tension bow aftershock build. It gives you a lot of on-hit burst, and Cruel already has a bit of on-hit burst in his kit, so just by adding to that, it makes it even more powerful. Cruel's B, with this tension bow aftershock build, hits like a truck in the mid game, and that's very, very good for bursting out specific heroes like Adagio. So I'm really interested to see how TSM play these mid game fights. They might in the mid game be more focused on dealing with Araki Zoro. As we get towards the later game and Von C starts to fall off with this build, we might see him go, no, wait a second, he's actually gone Swift Shooter. This might actually be double tension.
Maybe Storm Crown after that. Like, it feels like the possibility, we've talked about this off and on cam before Scoundrel about double weapon power. Is it viable in 2.6, considering Bonesaw, Tension Bows seem to be in a fairly good place? You've got a Baron, hardest hitting weapon power carry there is. That's going to be a gank onto Araki Zoro, and he's just going to instantly drop. Best Chuck should be good to move away. The Fountain keeps him nice and healthy. Vaynes and Xenotech now under turret, no Fountain. The dive potential from a Cruel, from a Lyra, with the Best Chuck hitting with that Sorrow Blade. He's already finished. Have to worry for Gankstars.
A lot of you in Twitch chat and VG8 viewers probably won't have been watching all of the Challenger series over in Europe, but in Europe we have a team called Calamity Reborn who've just won the VGL Summer Split 1, and they have Leon, who most of you will know, one of the best players in Europe, maybe even one of the best players in the world. You have Aeon and Riaren, also very, very skilled and talented players in their own right. They were the first team I have seen in recent memory to pull out a double weapon power composition and win with it. They won with a saw, believe it or not, that sort of went for a bone saw, and they also had a weapon power jungler, and it actually worked incredibly well. They had a lance, big on-hit lance. So saw reduced the armor, and lance basically got massive damage out with his impales and Githian walls, and it worked really well. And we are going to see Von C move to what looks like it's going to be a poison shiv, so we could actually see a double weapon power build here. I would like to potentially see Bonesaw, but realistically with double tension bow, you already have a lot of armor penetration in there anyway. That's 12% flat armor penetration you have regardless. This is really interesting.
Very interesting. It's going to be Gankstars moving to the lane. I remember talking to one of the European pro players. I can't quite put my name on it, but they were quite upset that Adagio's fallen out of the meta due to one single item alone, Scoundrel. That is the Poison Shiv, especially on Vox. Vox used to be a pretty hard matchup. Into the Adagio, you used to struggle against Adagio, but since Poison Shiv's come into popularity and Vox can build it, they feel like that's kind of flipped, that the Adagio actually now struggles into the Vox. So if you can apply that Poison Shiv to the Adagio, get on top of him, then the healing potential is just not quite there. Vaynes will have to build a Shadow Glass, you feel, this game. I feel like the burst on the Grace, and perhaps even soon, we saw it in Europe, a third item, Shadow Glass from SK. They're starting up this gold miner here. Looks like they should be able to easily secure it. Iron Cannon will come on top of their heads. Xenotech and Vaynes will take a bit of that, but they're happy to just walk away.
And actually, the whole Poison Shiv debate in this particular instance is very interesting, actually, Dalsy, because on a Baron, you classically will never go Poison Shiv because it's just an item that doesn't really synergize with what Baron wants to achieve. Baron likes high weapon power volumes, big crits, anything that basically makes his rockets, which are fairly low attack speed, deal as much damage as physically possible. And against a Grace and Adagio, a double sustain composition.
Ooh,
wait a second,
Rocky's already been ganked straight into the health from Death from Hell's Heart. Von C under this turret gets so much healing, and Xenotech will go down. Von C, just fight, no fear. He's still going. Eventually, Vaynes shuts him down, but this will be a turret for TSM.
Damn, TSM already off to that. And what Cruel provides, Dalsy, Cruel is very strong in the mid game. Cruel has got typically an incredibly strong mid game because he scales so well with levels. When you've got massive levels in your B, your Spectral Smite, it can absolutely crush mid game, even if you have no real attack damage or even no real weapon power, because it has so much damage when he comes from getting those stacks on the Spectral Smite. So TSM are doing a really good job of pressing mid-game advantage with Cruel, finding those engages, a little bit like you would do with a Koshka post 6, just throwing out the Cruel ultimate onto Adagio, rushing the Adagio, who is classically bad, into a Cruel, and then using that as a distraction while Baron deals damage from the backline. I really like the way that TSM are playing this. By sending Cruel immediately into the fight, he warrants a response, because if you leave a Cruel, he is just going to build weakness stacks, he is going to get a big smite, and he's going to kill a target. Just like this, potentially.
Xenotech will be the focus of Von C. Looks like he should be okay for now. Gankstars are poistering for a re-engage. Vanes is going to dive in with Xenotech, but they don't really find the kill they need. Hell's Heart into Xenotech. He gets the heal from Grace, but he's still going down. Dropped. Fountain comes out of Vanes very late. Could have perhaps saved his jungler there, but wasn't looking for it. TSM, all very healthy due to Lyra. And Lyra, such a great captain right now, especially into the Grace. They're going to go for the Grace. In fact, Vanes does pop down that Holy Nova, but holy hell, that's a lot of damage from Bestchuck, and this is very much likely to be TSM finding themselves another turret if they keep the siege up.
They are very, very close to running away with the game here, Dalsey. I was about to talk about, I think it is illustrated so perfectly in the last few fights that we've seen from TSM. They run what is called, in my opinion, a distraction tactic. Cruel is a distraction tactic in a Baron composition. I talked about it in a draft video I did recently. When you have a Baron, sometimes it's really nice to draft a strong early mid-game jungler who can pretty much solo carry in some instances, because it means that Baron becomes less of a target, especially in the mid-game. So that gives Baron time to scale in team fights because no one's focusing him. So if you imagine your Gankstars, you have a Cruel running at you, teeth bared, smites delivered onto your Adagio. What's the Gankstars' response? It's not going to be afterburn the Baron and blow the Baron up. I can absolutely assure you that. It is going to be get this Cruel off me, he hurts. And in that time, because they only really have both the afterburn and Grace's Holy Nova to peel for the Cruel.
Oh, Xenotech is going in. Vonsi's just lurking, waiting. They've used their one peel tool. Vanes can't get in position. There's the heal onto Araki Zoro. And there's the Fountain as he gets blown up by Bestchuck. Xenotech now looking for the escape, but from Hell's Heart connects, and that will be him stunned and deleted by Von C. 4, 2, and 5. Bestchuck 5, 1, and 4. Yeah, this distraction composition, Excoundrel, definitely more of a kill you composition in the mid game for the Cruel as he's at his elite power spike.
Yeah, and actually it's the double-edged sword, Dalsey, because if you do just ignore the Cruel, he will just kill you. So it's a double-edged sword of this composition that you can't ignore the Cruel, but you have to ignore the Cruel, but you can't. So it's a catch-22 for Gankstars, because you can't ignore the Cruel because he'll kill you, but you have to ignore the Cruel because then Baron will kill you. I really like this drafting from TSM. Not only is Cruel good into Adagio, like we've talked about, it works so well because it requires such an immediate answer that Gankstars just don't have. And TSM looking like they are still that untouchable bastion of North American VG8 prowess that they have always been. At least
I wonder where the
reflex
reflex blocks are, Excoundrel.
What's that, sorry?
The reflex blocks, where are they? Xenotech, no reflex block. Vanes, no Crucible. Araki Zoro has himself a reflex block, but
I mean, what do you want to reflex block? The only thing I think about reflex blocking was the Cruel ultimate.
Yep.
So Iraqi Zoro is generally going to be the first target, right? So he's got the reflex block because that's warranted. The problem is now for the Gankstars, they want to build armor and they want to build armor quickly, but you can't build armor against Baron, and double tension bow makes building armor feel kind of painful because it's still so good against high armor values. When you compare a Sora Blade to a tension bow in terms of damage efficiency, at Metal Jacket and level 12 values of armor, tension bow almost matches Sora Blade, and the more and more weapon power you get, the more and more powerful tension bow becomes because of that 12% armor shred. So, yeah, I mean, this is a tough situation for Gankstars right now.
Gankstars, they've attempted to be the aggressor, they've attempted to take the fights to TSM. When it happens, Von C just gets an entry point on to Araki Zoro, so they play defensively, and it seems like Von C still finds his entry point. That's going to be Vanes perhaps losing his life here. There's the engage, but Look at where Bonsi is, straight on to Xenotech, and Xenotech starting to lose his life. They can't deal with the Cruel, they can't deal with the Baron, and now they're just losing their lives. A double and an ace comes through for TSM here. Veins with that energy battery, void battery, looks like he's going towards an echo, but I just don't think that a double heal is going to save any of their carries in this position. You kind of feel like maybe you need the burst heal that Shadow Glass would provide, but even then, the Cruel, the Baron, they're already dealing too much damage here. Best Chuck, he's at his 4 damage item spike, he's taken the choke point turret, the Kraken's just spawned, and Gankstars look lost for odds.
When will people learn you don't give Best Chuck NA Baron? How many losses to a 7-1-5 Baron will it take for people to say, maybe we should ban Baron against Best Chuck? At what point does that become part of your draft strategy, Dalsy? Because I feel like a lot of people have let this through. Best Chuck has been so happy to just lock it in with little to no regard for any form of counter, and everybody has fell flat to the power. I mean, credit to TSM, they play so well around it. But Best Chuck's Baron feels unbeatable. When do people realize this?
Right, you know, maybe next update, who knows? Like, Best Chuck in a tweet to me says no one counters my Baron, and you know, even when we've seen counter compositions towards Best Chuck's Baron, TSM have just played so perfectly around those counter compositions and met their win conditions. Face first Scoundrel, they've made it look easy every single time. I can't remember a TSM game with Baron that's looked hard. Here comes another engage from Veins. Good Holy Nova, but it was not on to Best Chuck. Xenotech dives in. Xenotech starting to get healed. Can Araki get the damage down? Another jump jet's a fountain, a crucible, and it's now the massacre as TSM take down Gankstars. 1, 2, and a third. That will be the ace coming through for TSM. The Kraken knocking on the door of Gankstars, and to game 2 we go.
And the Bonesaw came out as well, Dalsy, so they did run the ultimate armor shred composition from TSM, and double weapon power has firmly found its way back into professional play of Vainglory. And TSM widen the gulf between themselves and pretty much any North American VG8 team that you could think to lay your eyes on. C9 have even looked, you know, struggling against them in recent times. TSM are just the complete package.
Certainly are. You have to wonder, with Baron being allowed...